Howdy folks, hope you're enjoying your weekend and welcome back at long last. It's been a couple of weeks to Cold Waters with Commander Jingles McJingleberry, Commanding Officer of the USS Hyman G. Rickover. Sorry, what's that? Oh, that little thing. Oh, that's just my Bronze Star. Awarded for extraordinary heroism in action against enemies of the United States of America. Yes, I don't like to talk about it, obviously. We're carrying on from where we left off after successfully sinking a Soviet cruise missile submarine and its escort that were threatening the Atlantic shipping routes. And we're going to see what the Admiral has in store for us this time. Right, so we're hunting down a pack of attack submarines that have been operating against shipping in the North Atlantic. Alright, we can do that. And there is a submarine contact currently in the Barents Sea that's already been picked up by the sonar buoy net strung between the Greenland-Iceland-UK gap. So we're cruising in at 25 knots and now we're going to slow down and make our approach at a slightly more sedate pace so we don't instantly give our position away. There we are, 10 knots, sonar contact, bearing 168 degrees, designated Sierra 1. There's a storm on the surface, a moderate surface duct and a moderate thermal layer at 205 feet. So let's make sure I have torpedoes selected and all of my tubes. The harpoon is going to be no use here whatsoever. All hands, man your battle stations, rig the boat for ultra quiet. I'm cruising just above the thermal layer. So I'm probably going to need to do two sweeps, one above the layer, one below the layer. I don't actually have any contacts, but the last contact was detected bearing 168 degrees, so I want to bring the boat around to give the towed array the best possible chance of detecting any contact on a bearing of 168 degrees. The towed array isn't actually modelled in the game. Well, it's modelled, but it's not displayed in the game. Providing you're going slow enough, 5 knots, the towed array will be deployed, and it works best at detecting targets that are 90 degrees off your beam, so sideways on. So I'm doing a nice slow turn here, first above the layer, and if I don't pick anything up above the layer, we'll drop down below the layer and give the towed array another go down there. Now, the ambient noise levels at the moment, because of that storm on the surface, are 109 decibels. That's a very, very noisy environment, and it's going to make it difficult for me to pick anything up. But we're going to have a go anyway. It's not really much of a storm, is it? I've seen worse weather on the Gosport Ferry. What's going on? Oh well, never mind. Yeah, sonar's not registering any contacts above the thermal layer, so we're going to drop down below the thermal layer and give the sonar another chance down there. So, I've popped down below the thermal layer, and you'll see that the thermal layer is at a depth of 205 feet. Now, extending to a depth of about 30 feet below that thermal layer is something that's called the shadow zone. When you're in the shadow zone, it's very, very difficult for anybody to hear you, but it's also very difficult for you to hear anything else. So theoretically, the shadow zone should extend down to a depth of 235 feet. I am sitting at a depth of 236 feet. I realise that's cutting it awfully close, but I should still be out of the shadow zone, so give myself the best possible chance to pick something up with my passive sonar, and yet if everything goes horribly, horribly wrong very, very quickly, I don't have to go very far to get into the shadow zone and hopefully avoid detection. Now, because it's so noisy, if I hadn't picked anything up with my passive sweeps, I would have probably had to go active. But I don't have to take that risk because passive sonar has picked up a contact. And yeah, he's banging away on active sonar. So it's a good job I'm as close to the shadow zone as I am. He's obviously gotten just as frustrated with a lack of contacts as I had, and he's gone active. So, we're going to snapshot tube 1 and get a torpedo down that bearing. The fact that he's pinging away on active sonar tells me straight away that it's a submarine. It's not a humpback whale or anything. And he has to be an enemy submarine, because American submarines don't operate in packs. Soviet submarines did, but American submarines generally knew that if they picked up a submarine contact in their patrol area, it was an enemy, because they had their own specific patrol areas that didn't overlap with the patrol areas of other submarines. So if you find a submarine contact in your patrol area, it's not going to be one of yours. Now, bearing in mind how noisy it is down here, I had set the torpedo to go active before I cut the wires. So the torpedo now has the command that once it reaches its activation area, it's going to switch to active sonar rather than relying on passive sonar to detect an enemy submarine in this noisy underwater environment. The target solution that I have on that guy isn't great, but I know it's an enemy submarine, I just don't know what it is. I'm reasonably sure I haven't been detected, although I'm not 100% sure because it is so noisy down here. Normally you'd hear launch transients, you'd hear the sound of torpedo doors opening, you'd hear the sound of torpedo tubes flooding. But with 109 decibels of ambient noise, I mean at the moment I've completely lost contact with whatever it is out there, and I've even lost contact with my own torpedo. I can't even hear my own torpedo, it's so noisy down here. I'm pretty sure that he's aware he's under attack because at one point I heard him cavitating, which would indicate that he went to full torpedo evasion speed. See, the problem is that there's not a lot of depth of water here. It's only about 575 feet to the bottom, which means I can't really afford to go full speed or I'm going to start cavitating myself. So I want to clear the line of bearing down which I fired my torpedo, because if he snapshots a return shot, I don't want to be where I was when I launched the torpedo. The problem is I'm kind of restricted in how fast I can go before I start cavitating. I mean, I'm doing 10 knots at a depth of just over 400 feet. I could probably do 15 knots quite safely. But if I start cavitating, he is going to hear it. No question about it. I heard him cavitating. He's going to hear me, despite the ambient noise level. So I really don't want to run that risk. Standard procedure, by the way, once you engaged a target and fired a torpedo at them, was to go to full speed torpedo evasion anyway, because the likelihood was that they were going to snap a shot right back at you the second they heard your torpedo in the water. But, well, what can I say? I'm a massive coward. I don't like to risk being heard if I can possibly avoid it. Now, it's been a while since I had any kind of passive contact. I can't even hear my own torpedo. And I'm pretty sure, although I did have a fairly terrible target solution, and my range to the target was only an estimate, but if the target was where I had estimated it to be, I'm pretty sure that if the torpedo was going to find anything there, it would have found it by now. So my suspicion is that whatever and wherever Sierra 1 is, he's now above the thermal layer. So I'm coming up and I'm going to see if that suspicion is correct. Hopefully, it's by no means guaranteed, but hopefully my passive sonar will pick something up once I go above the layer. I need to watch my speed, however, because I'm in much, much shallower water now, so we're going to have to slow, otherwise I will start cavitating. We're now above the layer, so we're going to level the bubble and see what we can detect up here. I spent a couple of minutes just listening intently above the layer and heard nothing, so headed back down again below the layer. And that's more or less just as we're crossing through the shadow zone where I picked up the sound of a noisemaker in the water down the line of bearing where Sierra 1 was. Now that is a lot further away than where we had estimated Sierra 1 was, so that explains why I hadn't heard anything for so long from the torpedo. It had to travel twice as far, and it's found its target, and whatever the hell Sierra 1 was, it's dead now. Unfortunately, I did start cavitating there. I wasn't quite as deep as I thought I was to go to this kind of speed. And remember, we're hunting a pack of hunter-killer attack submarines. I've sunk one of them, still don't know what it was, but there's at least another one, possibly two of them out there, and I just gave my position away. And bearing in mind how noisy it is down here with that storm on the surface, I'm not going to hear any torpedoes get launched. I mean, I lost contact with my own torpedo once it got more than 5,000 yards away, so it's likely that if there are any torpedoes closing in on my position, I'm probably not going to hear them until they get within about 5,000 yards. Anyway, can't worry about that, what's done is done. So, can still hear that noisemaker banging away in the water. The thing is though, the noisemaker, well, look at how far away it is from where Sierra 1 got sunk. Okay, I didn't hear the noisemaker until I passed down below the thermal layer, but that's not necessarily Sierra 1's noisemaker. That could be one of the other submarines in the pack that has launched that one, given how far away it is from the wreck of Sierra 1. So, working on that assumption, and it is just a theory, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the boat around, and I'm going to have to enable time acceleration here because I want to be doing this slowly and quietly, and I'm just going to do a cruise past the rough location of where Sierra 1 got sunk, because if he is operating in a pack, there are going to be other enemy submarines within a few thousand yards of him. And because I'm going slowly and quietly, well, and it is very noisy down here, I'm extremely unlikely to be detected while I'm doing it, and these guys are fully aware they're under attack. I've just sunk one of their friends, so they know there's an American submarine out here somewhere, and if they're not picking anything up on passive, they may get frustrated, go active, and that will allow me to get a line of bearing to my next targets. So, I'm going to speed things up and see what happens. Even with time acceleration on, it took just over 2 minutes for something to happen. I was just passing to the south of the wreck of Sierra 1. It kind of looks like a Victor when somebody started cavitating further to the south. Now, I immediately lost contact again, but I have a bearing, I have an estimated range, and that's good enough for me. So, firing point procedure, tube 1, contact Sierra 2. I want to keep the wire so I can control the torpedo, which means I'm going to have to kind of turn towards contact Sierra 2, which is, well, it's the exact opposite of what you really should be doing when you've snapped a shot off against contact. You should be turning away and going to full speed torpedo evasion. But I'm taking a lot of calculated risks here. I didn't actually gain a contact on the datum there that represents contact Sierra 2 until I heard him cavitating. So I'm pretty sure that he hasn't actually heard this torpedo launch, because he's not cavitating anymore. It looked like he was making a depth change and just miscalculated his speed, started cavitating momentarily. So I'm pretty confident he is not even aware that he's under attack at the moment. My weapon is not too far short of its activation point, at which point I can, if I need to, take manual control over the torpedo because I've retained the wire. You can steer the torpedo, including making depth changes, by using the number pad. Just a few seconds more. He's going to hear that torpedo soon. There it is, he started cavitating. Contact re-established. Wow. Looks like the original estimate was way off. Luckily, the Mark 48 torpedo has a lot of fuel. It's got more fuel than the equivalent Soviet torpedo, so it can keep hunting for a good long time. Now we're going to get to work on classifying that target while the torpedo's doing its thing. And that does look like a Victor 2, so we're going to go ahead and call that a Victor 2. The torpedo has now gone active. The contact is just outside of the search cone of the torpedo seeker head, however, so we're probably going to have to steer that towards the target. But that's okay, I've got the wire. That's exact. Whoa, contact just updated. The solution just firmed up from 70 to 95%, and the range just updated from 17,000 to, oh shit, he's right on top of me. I start bringing the torpedo around, and then a couple of things happen. I need to be very careful I don't lose the wire here, because swinging this torpedo around back the way it came is pointing it straight back towards me, and if I lose the wire, I could end up sinking myself. And then we get a third contact, Sierra 3. He's cavitating, and he is right on top of me as well. Well, his estimate is right on top of me, but you've seen how far off these estimates can be. So, what do I do? Okay. It's going to take longer for the torpedo that's in the water to make its way back to these contacts than it is for me to... Oh, and there we go, Sierra 3 just updated. He's further away than I thought, and in fact he's right in the path of the first torpedo, and Sierra 2 is right there. So screw this. The time for subtlety is over. Firing point procedures, tube 2. Contact Sierra 2. Right fucking there, get him! My weapon's banging away on active sonar. He's heard it immediately. He's going full speed torpedo evasion. He started cavitating there momentarily. I'm kind of behind him, which is going to make it very, very difficult for him to get a return shot off against me. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but if he does, it's going to have to loop back, and he's probably going to lose the wire. In fact, he's going so fast he can't even launch a torpedo. Nevertheless, the time for subtlety is long over, and just because he can't launch a torpedo at me doesn't mean Contact Sierra 3 can't either. So, full speed torpedo evasion. Let's get ready to avoid incoming fire while we wait for that third Mark 48 to find its target. Come on, yes, we got him. Contact Sierra 2, Victor 2, SSN, sunk. Now, I still have the wire on the other torpedo, and it's still out there to the south doing its thing, looking for Sierra 3. My contact on Sierra 3 isn't great, but I still do have a contact, and the sonar team, while I've been busy, have been working on classifying it. What I should probably have done here was keep control of the torpedo, since it's out there in the rough location of Contact Sierra 3, which, by the way, the sonar team have just classified as an alpha. Now, that's a good contact, and the torpedo is right on his tail. The thing about the alpha, though, that thing was fast. The Soviets used them as interceptors. It could do 41 knots submerged, and he is capable of outrunning my torpedo. But he's just doubled back, and that was probably to get out of the search cone of the torpedo that was already in the water, which means he's now heading straight towards the next two torpedoes that have just said, oh, wow, okay, well, that was a waste of two torpedoes. We got him. Well, surely that's all of them, a pair of Victor 2s and an Alpha. Well, I think it was a pair of Victor 2s. We never actually did get a positive ID on Contact Sierra 1, but it kind of looked like a Victor 2 sitting there wrecked on the ocean bottom. But 3 submarines in a pack. I mean, I'd be surprised if there was 4. It's not impossible, of course, but let's see if we can exit the mission. Nope, not quite. No enemy vessels nearby, no aircraft nearby, no flooding, but there are still weapons nearby, and that would be the 2 Mark 48 torpedoes that I just wasted. These things aren't cheap. More worryingly, I have a very, very limited supply of them, and that is going to come back and bite me in the arse as I head back to Holy Loch. Still, on the bright side, at least it's another mission complete. The Admiral should be happy. Send a mission report off, and yep, there were 2 Victor 2s, as well as the Alpha. Admiral, sir, there's that hunter-killer pack you sent us out to sink. Can I have a what do you mean, this was not your mission target? Ah, shit. Oh, crap. This could be our mission target. Oh, great. I don't have an awful lot of weapons left. Luckily, my speed was 5 knots. I was just loitering in the area, sending my mission report back to Commander-in-Chief. Oh, this isn't good. We have contacts. It's a lot quieter. The storm's passed. I've only got 1 torpedo left, a couple of harpoons, which are absolutely no use whatsoever against submarines, and I do have some mobile submarine simulators. So I'm going to load one of those, get to work on classifying these contacts. That looks like... Geez, 2 contacts, 1 torpedo. Yeah, that's a Romeo. Okay. Romeo's a diesel boat. It's a very early 1950s designed diesel boat. And Contact Sierra 1 looks like a Foxtrot, which is an early Cold War design, but they were still building them up until the early 1980s. So we're going to snapshot off against the Romeo, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. Let's get some mosses loaded into the tubes, because we may need them. Right, our depth is 50 feet, we're just above the layer. Our target is just below the layer. I'm quite surprised I actually managed to get a contact. Considering it's a diesel boat, they are very, very quiet. And he was on the other side of the thermal layer. There is not a huge depth of water here, however. But I'm going to do my best to get the hell out of here. I just have to take it... Oh wow, the contact's firmed up. He's actually right down on the bottom. It's still not a fantastic target solution, but... yeah. Here's the thing. I don't want to be here. And my best chance at remaining undetected is to stay above the thermal layer, but if I stay above the thermal layer I'm restricted to a speed of 5 knots at most without cavitating and giving them a precise target bearing. So I'm going to have to go deeper in order to get some kind of speed up and just get the hell out of here, because I'm now out of torpedoes. I cannot attack unless they're dumb enough to come up to the surface so I can hit them with a harpoon, which, let's face it, it's not likely. So I'm just going to have to evade, and for that I need to be deep. Unfortunately, I launched my very last torpedo at a very shallow depth before I had a proper target solution on Contact Sierra 2, the Romeo, and yeah, he's not at a very shallow depth, so that torpedo is probably going to completely miss him. It's just not going to find him. So I'm now effectively completely unarmed, and I just want to go home. I don't like this anymore. Admiral, the Russian submarines are being mean to me. I don't like this anymore. I want my mum. So right now my plan is, well, it's all a bit King Arthur really. It's just run away. I've got no weapons. I can't do anything else. So we're going to turn away from Contact Sierra 1 and Contact Sierra 2. Pray there isn't a Contact Sierra 3 out there somewhere. And just try to sneak away and stay in one piece. A couple of minutes later, check to see if we can run away yet. No, still vessels nearby. God damn it. Alright, let's just keep moving. We'll put time compression on. A few minutes later, can I run away now? Oh, just leave me alone, alright? What did I ever do to you? Right, let's keep going. Oh, will you just f*** off? Hey! We successfully, and there were only 2 of them, managed to effect a tactical withdrawal from the combat area. We didn't run away, we effected a tactical withdrawal. And it looks like I'm just not going to get this mission complete because now I'm out of torpedoes. So it's back to Holy Loch, and yeah, better luck next time. Chief of the boat, full speed for home if you please. Just going to transit the Norwegian Sea. And we should be pretty safe once we cross the sonar buoy net. Just to the south of the Faroes. Oh, what's this? Ah, yeah, the war's not going too well. We haven't lost West Germany yet. And we're now in home. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Really? Wait, how fast am I going? Shit. All hands, man your battle stations, rig the boat for ultra quiet. We are in the shit. Well, of course I was doing 25, 26 knots. I was 100 miles away from Holy Loch. We were on the friendly side of the SOSUS net. There should not be any Soviet submarines out here. Except there are. And they have almost certainly heard me. The ambient noise level is 91 decibels. I mean, it's not ultra quiet. You couldn't hear a pin drop at 91 decibels, but, well, if I'm doing 26 knots, they'll have heard me. No question about it. And I have no contacts. So, well, it doesn't really matter. I don't have any torpedoes. Even if I knew where they were, I don't have anything to defend myself with. So, once again, I'm just going to run deep and as quickly as I dare without generating too much noise and just try to get the hell out of here. Considering how close I am to Holy Loch, I could really use some maritime patrol aircraft assistance here, but apparently the Royal Air Force don't work weekends. Or possibly all the precious little snowflakes are getting their regulation 8 hours sleep after being in the air for 3 hours. Who knows? Either way, I'm on my own. I did actually screw up here. Whoever's out there was on a bearing of 222 degrees. Now 222 minus 180 means I should be on a bearing of 42 degrees in order to be heading directly away from them, but I'm not. And I'm hearing active sonar. More worryingly, I'm hearing torpedo tracking sonar, and I'm hearing launch transients. There's a torpedo in the water. I think there it is, it's above me. A second torpedo, a second launch transient. There are 2 torpedoes in the water, I can only see one of them. launch the noisemaker. It's time to go evasive. I know they've got a fairly good contact on me, otherwise they wouldn't have fired, and they definitely know I'm down deep because that torpedo is coming straight down. Where the hell's it gone? Well, it was coming straight down. Where the hell is it? Oh, great. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I've got two options here. Option one, just run, which is always a good option. Option two, I'm going to launch a MOS, Mobile Submarine Simulator. Now, I have to stay slow in order to launch it. Crap, there's the first torpedo. I was wondering where it was. Okay, the MOS is away, and it does look like the first torpedo. I still have no idea where the second torpedo above me has gone, but it looks like the first torpedo's taken the bait and it's going for the MOS. Now, what I need to do now is get the hell out of the seeker cone of that torpedo, because it's not going to stay fooled forever. And it's going to start executing a search pattern once it realises the MOS isn't actually me. And here it comes, it's coming around. Right, screw this, full speed. Come on, I need speed in order to be able to turn quickly. Shit. Okay, up. Make it pass underneath us. Come on, come on. And bring it around, stay out of the seeker head of the torpedo. Yes, we've done it. Okay, for now. But there are more torpedoes in the water. There are now 3 torpedoes in the water against me. We've now formed a knuckle because we're moving so fast and we're throwing the boat around so much, and that's going to offer these torpedo seeker heads an additional sonar contact for them to bounce their active sonar off, and something else that it's entirely possible they're going to go for rather than me. I screw up again here. I'm trying to launch another MOS out of Tube 3, but I forget how fast I'm going. So it's just too fast to get a torpedo away. Or a MOS in this case, which is just a torpedo that's designed to mimic a submarine. So that's now wrecked torpedo tube number 3. And I've just formed another knuckle in lieu of a MOS. I'm basically just trying to put as many things in the water as possible for that torpedo to lock onto. A knuckle will do, a MOS will do, a noisemaker will do, whatever. I can't launch any MOSs at this kind of speed, but I don't know if... let's go quiet. Let's see what happens. Because that torpedo looks like it's just circling, looking for a target. I don't know what happened to the other 2 torpedoes. They're probably still back there. I mean, I can still see them tracking. If you have a look at the minimap down there in the bottom left corner, you can see that they're... I've completely lost the other 2. They're just milling around aimlessly looking for something, and there is somebody out there who's... I can see the bearing of his active sonar, but I do believe I have successfully managed to evade torpedo number 3, and that's the big threat. So, oh, we have a contact. Well, not that it does me any good because I've got no weapons, I can't sink him, but let's at least try to classify it. So we're comparing his acoustic signature in the waterfall display down there with our known list of all Soviet submarine signatures, and well, it looks like a Romeo. Now that would make sense. The Romeo's another diesel electric boat. They're very, very quiet machines, and if the Soviets were going to sneak anything past the SOSUS net, which is a massive string of sonar buoys that NATO scattered along the gaps between Greenland, Iceland and the UK during the Cold War, if you're going to get anything through that without being detected, it's going to be a diesel electric boat. Exactly like the Romeo. And what that sneaky little bugger was doing was lying in wait just outside Holy Loch in order to ambush NATO submarines as they transited to and from their home base, and he very nearly got me. Well, he might still get me, I haven't gotten away yet. So, what am I going to do? Well, the thermal layer isn't too far above me. So, if I can get the layer between... Wait, a launch transient? Ah, great. There's another one coming in from the starboard side, right on the beam. Okay, drop a noisemaker. I'm going to try to creep above the thermal layer. I should be passing into the shadow zone any second now. Now this is risky as all hell because I cannot afford to cavitate, which means I have to go slow. And every instinct is screaming to floor the accelerator and just get the hell... Just DD Mao and get the hell out of Dodge. But I can't afford to do that right now. Well, I probably could, but I'd have to go hard torpedo evasion. For the moment, we're going to see if the noisemaker is going to do its trick. There he is. He's below me. Do you see him? Down there below the layer? Just below my submarine. Off in the distance. It definitely looks like a Romeo from this angle at least. Question is, does he have me on active? I mean, he's pinging away, so he's pretty confident in his ability to prosecute this attack. Oh, man, this is tense. He's less than 3,000 yards away, banging away on active sonar, but I do have the thermal layer between me and him, so he's not guaranteed to actually have me. I can, however, hear, and now I can see, the search ping of another torpedo. Ah, crap, it's got me. It's got me. Here it comes. Noisemaker away. Noisemaker's fooled it. Now, what you would normally be doing under these circumstances is just going to flank speed and screw the fact that you're going to cavitate and just go full torpedo evasion. But I am right above that thermal layer, and I may be able to lose these guys in the shadow zone. The noisemaker bought me enough time to execute the maneuver. I hope. Come on, come on, come on, come on, we're at the layer. Oh, damn, son, did you see that? It worked. Other torpedo just ran out of fuel and detonated. It worked. I lost him in the shadow zone. How do you know you lost him in the shadow zone, Jingles? Surely that was just the torpedo missing. No, if it had been locked on, it would have been pinging quickly with its tracking sonar, but it wasn't. It's executing a search pattern. It didn't actually see me. Oh, it's got a contact now, though. Here it comes. Ooh. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's get a noisemaker away. And it's fallen for it. And I'm out of its seat ahead. It's going into a search pattern again. Got to get away from it. Wait, no, it's turning the other way. There's the Romeo. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a torpedo right now. I could end this very quickly. But yeah, if wishes were horses. Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. I've managed to lose that torpedo again. It's still executing the search pattern, but it's above me, so I'm out of its seeker head, and he's still banging away on active. But I'm not convinced he actually has a solid contact. I mean, he knows I'm here, because obviously he's watching what his torpedoes are doing. He's aware that his torpedoes are momentarily getting contact, and he's seeing the noisemakers. But if he had a positive, solid target solution on me, he would be putting another torpedo in the water right now. No doubt about it. There it is. Wow. I've lost contact with the Romeo. He's in my battles. Oh, I need to be careful I don't exceed my crush depth. That would be quite embarrassing. I don't want to drop below 1,000 feet. Crap, I've dropped below 1,000 feet. I could have died right here. I've suffered damage. The torpedo tube doors are locked open from attempting to launch that Moss when I was travelling faster than 20 knots earlier. So I want to be, well, I want to be as low or as deep as I possibly can, so I can go as quickly as I can, as quietly as I can. But let's not take any unnecessary risks, like loitering around below 1,000 feet, especially not when I've suffered structural damage, because the hull could pop at any second. And I think I've done it. It's still searching, but it hasn't found anything. It's not going to find anything because I'm not up there anymore. I think I might have gotten away with it. Oh crap. I formed a knuckle. Shit, shit, shit. Trying to turn to get out of any search patterns here, and I forgot how quickly I was going, so I formed a knuckle in the water. They may have registered that. There's the torpedo behind me. Oh, I might have gotten away with it. I think I have. I feel at this point I should offer an apology and an explanation to any actual submariners, current or retired, who are watching this video. I have learned a lot from watching, in particular, Jive Turkey, who also does a lot of videos on cold waters, and is a former US Navy sonar operator and served on submarines exactly like this throughout the Cold War. Jive, if you're watching this, this was actually recorded before I started watching your videos. I do get a lot better at this game. So if you're sitting there shaking your head in frustration, don't worry, I do get better. Although, well, things are going to get worse before they get better, but for now I have managed to evade that Romeo. And I am going to be able to make it back to Holy Loch and get my self-inflicted torpedo tube damage repaired and put back to sea in order to continue operations against the Red Banner Northern Fleet. And bingo, there we go. The submarine, or not the submarine, the torpedo just ran out of fuel and detonated. So, having successfully evaded the Romeo that was lying in ambush, the sneaky little Russian, outside Holy Loch, let's send our report off to the Admiral. Oh, you bugger, there were 3 of them. I thought there was more than 1 because there were just too many torpedoes coming in from too many different angles for it to just be 1 Romeo, and yep, he's not too happy. Well, I did sink 3 submarines, they just weren't the 3 you sent me out to sink. And of course, failing the mission means that the war is not going too well, and now he has another job for me. I am directed to conduct Tomahawk land attack missile strikes against Soviet ships docked in the port of Gremika. I don't have any Tomahawks. Oh well. Well, it's just as well. I'm heading back to Holy Loch for repairs and rearmament. I'm going to have to equip some TLAMs. Oh, there's my report after 6 days of war. 47,000 tons of enemy shipping sunk, 36,000 of which were enemy submarines, and 1 bronze star awarded. Right, well, let's get this boat fixed and let's get some TLAMs loaded. And that is what we're going to be doing in the next episode of Cold Waters. We're going to be loading some TLAMs and we're going to go and play with the Soviet fleet while alongside in the port of Gremika. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you're having a great weekend. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.